Welcome to Mr. UFC Vegas Fight Club TV. I am Kyle, your host. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 230, Cormier versus Lewis. We're going to get into our free play that we have on this card, talk about a little bit about our best bet play and where you're able to purchase that, as well as our overall feeling on this card. I am actually going to be attending UFC 230 in Madison Square Garden. Really excited about going. I love any live UFC event or MMA event for that matter. Live, it's always fantastic. Always have a great time there. They run these events so great that it's always a fun time to go there. Me and my wife will be attending. This card, though, really has had some changes. There's been a lot of different things kind of going on with this card. It went from, you had Poirier and Diaz, which that was honestly the fight I was most excited about. That was the first, I was just very excited to see how that was going to play out. I did not see the odds on that fight, so I'm not sure if you guys had seen them prior to the fight falling off. But I really like Poirier, and I was thinking of actually going Poirier as a best bet play, depending on where the odds were. Again, not sure where the odds were on that. But that was what I was looking at. I really thought Poirier could really expose Diaz and standing up. I love the way that Poirier boxes. I'm not big on Diaz as a whole anyway. I'm not really big on him. I think he's good. I mean, there's no doubt he's good, but I mean, he's 6-6 in his last 12. I mean, he beat McGregor, and that was a big thing to now he becomes this big name, Diaz. So I was very excited to see where that fight was going to go with Poirier and Diaz. And then the other one was going to be Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero. That was another fight that, I mean, that has at this point, that fell off months ago. But that was another fight that I was extremely excited about, that it was going to be on this card. I knew I was going to be buying tickets to go to this event. So that was another one where two monsters were going to go at it. And I would have loved to see just how that all plays out. Paulo gets hurt. That fight falls off. And then we had Weidman and Rockhold. That was going to be a fight that I was, again, excited about. Rockhold gets hurt. Now Jacare steps up to face Weidman in the co-main event. So there's been a lot of changes going on in this card. It's not great to see. I mean, again, this is part of the business, and especially when you are purchasing tickets, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, obviously, you got to purchase tickets in advance, and sometimes there's changes that happen the night prior and the weigh-ins, where somebody doesn't make weight, or a fight is canceled, a fight is changed. So I kind of roll with the punches on those. Whatever happens, happens. Still, it's a great card. Still, there's some fun fights to watch. The main card's good. Israel Adesanya and Derek Brunson. I mean, that's another great fight that opens up the pay-per-view. So there are some other great fights on this card. Excited to see. Derek Lewis versus Daniel Cormier. I mean, it's great to see DC live fighting, possibly and arguably one of the greatest of all time. So it's good to see him live. But, I mean, my 2 cents on that fight, I just can't see, Derek Brunson getting in there and being able to really stand the cardio and the pressure of Daniel Cormier. I mean, I think the Black Beast he's tough. He's got a puncher's chance, and like Cormier says, if you've got a puncher's chance against me, you don't have any chance at all. So excited to see how that all plays out, what's going to go on there. Will be a fun night of fights, but again, when things change, you kind of got to roll with it. So before we get into our free play, I want to do something different here, and I always like to hear your guys' feedback on the events and your thoughts on certain issues and topics that are going on within the UFC. And the big one I wanted to bring up real quickly and just talk about it for a couple minutes is the big trade between DJ and Ben Askren. And it's the first of its kind. It's the first time it's ever happened within the UFC or really any organization doing this. And, my 2 cents on that is I think it's great. I think it's something that could really bring some new dynamics to mixed martial arts as a whole and all these organizations. You could maybe even see things happening with Bellator and the UFC, although Dana White and the owner of Bellator do not like each other. So we'll see how that goes out. But I just think it's a good dynamic. But the big thing here in this trade is now that Ben Askren is now maybe not fully a part of the UFC yet. I guess they haven't made this big announcement, which I'm assuming something is going to be said at UFC 230 or in the coming days. But he has just been on Twitter like a teenage girl on Twitter. Ben has just been out there. He is tweeting. He's bashing multiple fighters. He's talking a lot of trash, and he is. I mean, he's building his brand. And there was a point where he was doing it, and it was interesting to hear him kind of talk about certain things and getting into the UFC. And he's undefeated, and he was a former, one championship. One champion and had, some accolades as a guy that's, now they're saying is better than Khabib. Some people are, at least. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about it, because it's been such a big topic within the UFC about him. And some people are saying, hey, he's never really fought anybody. And how can you all of a sudden, I mean, I'm sure he's good. There's no doubt about it that he's good. Now, is he elite? Can he fight with those elite guys within that division? That I'm unsure of. And we've seen guys that come over, big name guys that they're good, but they just have not faced that caliber. And I'm so big, especially when I'm betting, I'm so big on what the competition level of each guy has faced. I think that is such a big telling sign. Sometimes you get, a highlight reel knockout, but you don't and then everyone just talks about that knockout, but they don't realize that the guy maybe wasn't that good the first few guys he fought within the UFC. So that kind of dynamic is always interesting to see, to take a guy who was really highly touted as Askren is, and now he's coming to the UFC, and now there's a lot of hype behind him. So I want to get your guys' opinion on that, on the trade, and on Ben. Do you think that he's going to be a force within the UFC? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say, so we will talk about that. But before we talk about our free play, do not forget to subscribe, kick the bell icon, get involved with Fight Club TV. It's a growing UFC and gambling channel all in one spot. So we are first going to talk about our free play that we have. Our free play will be on Jared Cannonier and David Branch. Now, in this fight here, this is two guys that, again, there's been some switching. There's been so much changes. David Branch was supposed to fight Jacare. They were supposed to face each other. I thought that was another great stylistic matchup between two fighters. I really, really wanted to see that fight. So now things have changed. And now you've got Jared Cannonier coming in. And Jared Cannonier, and giving a little bit of rundown on both of these guys, Jared Cannonier is, he's got a decent reach. He's 1-3 out of his last 4. I find him to be a little bit slower. I don't think that he's got the full capabilities of fighting those upper echelon guys, and he hasn't really fought many of those. But when you look at a guy like David Branch, and David Branch to me was a guy, a same kind of thing, and that's even the way I'm kind of tying this in there, was the same kind of situation where you take a look at, he was a World Series of Fighting champion. He had 2 belts, I believe he had in that organization. He was, on a 10-fight win streak coming into the UFC. He was a big prospect, obviously a little bit more older than a normal prospect that's coming into the UFC, but he had been, really dominating in the World Series of Fighting. Came in, got a win. Then he fought Luke Rockhold. Now, that fight to me, although he lost, I think that, honestly, that David Branch looked good. He had some pressure on Luke Rockhold. He was able to manipulate some cage movement. Luke Rockhold is he's a world-class fighter. He has great skill set standing. He's terrific on the ground. So he's a really, really tough opponent for anybody. That's a big step up for him at this point. That was a big step up, and I thought he fought very well. I thought he did a lot in that fight. I thought that he did a lot where he put Rockhold in tough situations, and Rockhold, of course, was able to do what he needed to do to get that victory, and got the victory. But I think that's a very, very big lesson for him, that he's able to learn a lot from a fight like that. Then you go again. The next fight was against Thiago Santos. Now, against Thiago Santos, who I am very high on, Thiago Santos was one of our best bet plays against Eric Anders, and he got that victory. And I am so big on Thiago Santos. I think his skill set is amazing. I think that he is so under the radar, where sometimes he does get a little crazy out there, where he's got a guy hurt and he starts doing these spinning back kicks or these flying knees instead of just trying to finish the fight, because he is so athletic. And his ability, his kicks are fantastic. He is a great all-around fighter. He really has a lot of great ground and pound. I mean, he's a really great fighter. And when when Thiago Santos fought David Branch, I thought this was going to be a great fight to watch. To say, hey, I could see this just being an all-out war. Both of these guys are good. And you've got David Branch, who is a high-level BJJ. He is really good all around. He's got great boxing, and his BJJ, you bring him on the ground, and he could just end any fight with any kind of submission on the ground. He is really fantastic there. So a fight, that's the big fight that I was highlighting when I was going back and looking at it, was that fight. And you come right out there against Thiago Santos, who comes right out, he brings pressure, he was looking for the knockout, but David Branch was very calm. He was very cool, collective, really analyzing the situation. The moment wasn't too big for him. He was just coming off a loss to Rockhold, so he knew that this was an important fight. And he goes out there in the first round and knocks out Thiago Santos. I thought it was an impressive fight, although short, a very impressive win for a guy like David Branch, who very well known for taking guys to the ground, submissions, really, trying to grind it out. He's got those accolades on the ground. But when you take a look at a guy that has the mix of boxing mixed with how quick he is and his great combinations from the outside, I really like what he can do in this fight. Now, you take a look at the odds here, and you've got David Branch, depending where you're shopping it, you got David Branch at minus 330, minus 350 I've seen, somewhere in those realms that you really got to take a look at and shop the price if you're looking to play some money on David Branch. But for me, right when I heard this fight was happening and Cannonier was coming up, short notice to fight David Branch, and David Branch was preparing to fight Jacare, who he really, I fully believe that David Branch went into training camp, knew this was a tough fight, and really, really trained his ass off for this fight. I really believe that. So in a situation like this, now he's fighting a guy levels down from a Jacare. I think that the price tag here should be around minus 500. I think it should be a minus 510, minus 520. That's the range that I believe that this fight should really be. And you're looking at it right now at a minus 330 to minus 350 range, that, basically where the price tag is. I think that's great. I think, in normal situations, I don't like paying up that much juice. It's not something that I do, but as a free play for me, and as one where I'm going to be allotting, and like I talked about this on the last prediction show, that, if I have, which I do, I have an allotted amount of money, and if I have that amount of money, I only want to do 10 to 15% of my bankroll for this event on my free play. Because again, I only bet roughly two fights, 3 fights on any given card. So that's as far as I go. And then I'm putting 80, 85% on my best bet play. And so any way you look at it, maybe there's some parlays and stuff that I'm trying to do with that 10, 15% out of my bankroll. So in a fight like this, I really feel like I'm probably going to be parlaying even David Branch and my best bet, but definitely going to be betting David Branch straight. I just think overall there is zero chance. And I don't mean that as, of course there is a chance that Cannonier can, it's fighting. Anybody can win. But you take a look at just the way that they are. I just see a dominating performance from David Branch. I think he's going to completely overwhelm Cannonier. I don't think Cannonier's going to have much opportunity in there with the guy with the boxing, the technique, the well-roundedness. And if he gets Cannonier to the ground, Cannonier, I just see that a lot of times with him also, he's very inactive. He is not a guy that really pressures. He's not a guy that's really going to go out there and dictate the fight. He lets the opponent dictate it more towards him, and he just doesn't throw enough combinations. He doesn't go out there and throw. He'll throw one strike and back off. He just is not active enough. For a guy like David Branch, who's going to be active, who can take it to the ground and strike, I just think that this is a lopsided victory for David Branch. So again, I would say that the odds should be around the minus 500 or a little bit above that. And if you're getting it at minus 330, minus 340, I think that's great price tag for a guy that should go out and dominate. So the free play bet will be on David Branch to defeat Jared Cannonier. So that will be the best bet play. If you are looking to make the purchase on, that's the free play, not the best bet play. If you're looking to make the purchase for the best bet play, it is on Wagertalk. It'll be a $20 purchase on Wagertalk. So when you go on there, take a look. You'll see the write-up as well that I have, and my profile for Wagertalk is in the description down below. So take a look at that. You can read up on what I have for the free play, as well as some of my past plays. And of course, if you want to purchase it, I always appreciate the support, and everybody that has purchased throughout. I really appreciate the support, and again, I want to continue to provide content here and as well as provide content on Wagertalk. So I hope you guys do make the purchase, and again, we're here to make money. We're all on the same team, so we want to go out there and beat those bookies. And again, hopefully I can get some footage from UFC 230 and put it on the bet review show. So, you know, there's so many events in a row coming up that I'm going to be absolutely busy getting these videos out, doing my research, and having a life outside of this. So, got a lot to do. So I want to get these videos out, obviously bet review show and the prediction show each week, middle of each week for the next few weeks. And then from there, you know, we'll see where we go. So, that is it for the prediction show. Do not forget to subscribe, like, head kick the bell icon, get involved with Fight Club TV, and it's Mr. UFC Vegas, Fight Club TV.